Good evening and welcome to Unapologetic, the UK podcast on politics, news and stuff from a right-of-centre viewpoint. I've got with me tonight Sam.
Hi.
Susan.
Hello.
Jonathan.
Hello.
And I'm Steve. So we're going to try something a little different tonight. We know that tonight's a big night because it's got the Boris Corbyn debate going on. And what we're going to do is play it and comment on it as it goes. Now we may stop and start and comment, or we may just let it play. Let's see how it goes. But this should be, if all goes well. Here we go.
I told you we would be
The
late.
Conservative government is failing. It's failed
Let's
on
see
the
what he
economy,
says.
on the climate crisis, the National Health
Looks like the
Service,
Dean Headmaster.
and on Brexit. We will get Brexit sorted by giving you, the people, the
So obviously
final
his
say,
opening statement.
and implement whatever you decide. Too many families are without a proper home, struggling to make ends meet, while tax cuts are handed to the super rich.
This is like a Salvation
We
Army
can
advert
do
all
better
over again
than
at the
this.
beginning.
With a Labour government on your side. A Labour government for the many, not just the few.
Mr. Corbyn, thank you. Mr. Johnson.
I'm not applauding that.
Are they applauding Corbyn, or are they
Thank you, Julian. Thank you, Mr. Corbyn. There's only one reason why we're having this election. That is that we have a deadlocked Parliament that will not deliver Brexit. And whether you voted for leave or remain, people want to get Brexit done and to unleash the potential of this entire country. And we Conservatives can. Because if you vote for us, we have a deal that is ready to go, approved by every one of the 635 Conservative candidates standing at this election. And as soon as we can get that deal through Parliament, as we can in the next few weeks, we can get on with the people's priorities. And that's the choice. Dither and delay, deadlock and division under a Corbyn-Sturgeon coalition with two referendums, another
rattling
one
his papers
on
loud,
the
it's
EU,
like
and then
Jonathan.
another one on Scotland, or we can end this national misery, break the deadlock, get Brexit done, and make 2020 a year of prosperity and growth where we invest in our NHS and deal with the cost of living. Together,
Thank you,
let's
Mr.
take
Johnson.
this country forwards.
not stopping it?
Hey! She couldn't stop him, no, it's like a juggernaut.
Well, we're inviting
Cosmonaut.
viewers from right across the country to submit questions. We've selected the questioners and they are in the studio with us this evening. The two
Oh,
leaders
they look like
don't know
Lefties.
what they'll be asked.
do you
Also,
know what
those
Lefties-
people who will listen
what a terrible
to
thing to
tonight's
say.
debate, some
just
have
do, I'm
voted
sorry.
They look
Conservative
happy.
and some Labour in the past, and some have voted for other parties across the UK.
This is
Our
quite a
first
significant
question
stream. Can
tonight
everyone make
comes
sure they
from
don't say anything that
Shhhh.
makes us not able to post this video?
Yes, Sam.
Both of you have
And
promised
Jonathan.
And
that
Jonathan.
Brexit will be resolved in the next few months. But you're really telling us the truth. There have been so many broken promises. Can you reassure me
She sounds like she's on
that
the
we
edge,
will not
bless
be
her.
talking about this forever?
Thank you very much.
It must be hot in there, 'cause she looks like she's gonna burst into
question
tears.
about
Yeah, she
the
did.
Timetable for Brexit. To respond first, Mr. Johnson.
Well, thank you very much, Kath. And yes, we certainly will come out on January the 31st.
I believe it.
Because we
Yeah,
have
I
a deal
do.
that
Yeah.
I say is oven ready. It's ready to go. And
I don't like this oven ready thing they all keep quoting, though.
I don't know,
It's like levelling up. They can't stop saying levelling up. Like they're trying to be down with the kids.
You get all the cool words every once in a while, don't
We
you?
wanted from Brexit. Our whole country comes out.
And also, even when it's like it's ready for the oven, you still got to wait for it to
England,
cook.
Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland.
And cool down.
Together,
Yeah,
and there is
exactly.
a sharp distinction.
And if you've cooked
between
it,
what we
put
are
it in the bin.
getting Brexit done, unleashing the potential of this country, and next
That's Sam not talking the
Dither
rest of the
and
day.
delay, with another referendum on the EU, when Jeremy Corbyn, Mr. Corbyn, cannot tell us which side he would campaign on
Okay,
in
thank
that
you, Mr.
referendum.
Johnson. Your time's up for your first response to Kath's question.
Our priority is obviously to get it sorted. We will, within 3 months, negotiate a credible leave option with the European Union, and within 6 months put that to a referendum of the British people to decide between that option of leaving whilst protecting jobs and trade and the Good Friday Agreement with Europe, or remaining as full members of the European
Another
Union.
referendum.
Another referendum, which will be Labour's crappy deal versus staying
Prime Minister Boris
in
Johnson
9 months'
can
time.
be
Great.
dealt with and finished by the end of January.
This
is such
referendum that they're
nonsense.
proposing,
What he's
they're not proposing leave on it, are
is
they?
a trade deal
Well,
with the
leave
United
their deal.
States.
Leave with their dodgy deal.
Yeah, that's it. They're not
But
proposing
Labour-
leave.
We don't want to leave to
Saying we would
negotiate.
negotiate a special trade deal with the European Union. The two things are actually incompatible.
Thank you, Mr. Corbyn. So let's
Labour government and the British country is incompatible.
So to open the debate, Mr Johnson said that he claims he has a deal that is ready to go, that you would have to negotiate a new deal after 3 years since we voted to leave the European Union. On that point, how would you respond?
Well, the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson,
A game show now.
voted twice against Theresa May's deal, one time for it, then proposed his own deal, which narrowly got through the House of Commons with the support of the
Before you
DUP,
answer
which
his
is actually
question,
even
what?
worse.
It got
than Theresa
through.
May's deal. He
Whether it
cannot
narrowly got through don't matter,
protect
does it?
jobs in this country on that basis, and I think it is time that we actually recognise we have to maintain a firm and good trading relationship with Europe. Otherwise, more jobs will be lost
question
all over
was,
the country.
is that's not the answer
because
to
of the
it.
uncertainty.
Well, we have a great deal that is supported, as Mr Corbyn says, not just by many members of his own party, but by the entire Conservative Party now. And 635 Conservative
Like
candidates
how I did now.
have backed it. And what is the alternative?
True.
It's under Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour Party to consecrate next year to a 3-month extension in which he would, Mr Corbyn proposes to negotiate a new treaty, and then to put that to the people in a referendum. But
Yeah,
we
what a
don't know.
nightmare.
I'm
Wants
asking
to do this for another
You're
year.
talking
no,
years,
or
though,
Nobody
aren't you?
wants to
Mr.
do
Corbyn
this.
Would campaign. Is he going to campaign for leave or remain?
Can we ask Mr Corbyn to respond to that?
Very clearly, we will negotiate.
They asked what you would do, Corbyn. What are you going to campaign? Very clearly.
And we'll put that alongside Remain in a referendum. And our government will abide by that result. I will carry out
Rock
the
and a
result
hard
of
place,
that
if ever I've
referendum.
heard of
It will be a genuine choice put before the people of Britain
It's not a
to make
choice. He
their
acts like
decision.
we were
And
all
we will carry
idiots
it
and
out.
we were given votes. So what? How will you campaign?
He don't want to tell you.
At this election, what we're asking is for a mandate to govern. And Mr Corbyn is asking the people for a mandate to conduct a new negotiation next year when we don't need one because we've already got a deal. I think what people need to understand is whether he believes in the deal that he is proposing to do. Does he actually want to do this deal? Because if he doesn't...
He does, but the rest of
Well,
Labour
if
don't, so he's
so,
doing as he's told.
He's going to campaign against it in the forthcoming
Perhaps you'd like to put the
referendum.
question directly
In
to
the forth-
Mr Corbyn.
What is the
This
point
is a
of
debate.
Brussels offering him
Put the
a
question
deal?
to
And
Mr.
I wonder whether he...
Yeah, but in a
Well,
debate,
clearly,
you
that's
go through the chair.
Yeah.
He's doing the right thing. You don't put it
I want to
directly to
bring
your
people together, therefore there will
opposition.
be a referendum in which that decision will be made by the British people and our government will abide by that decision. When you say you'll get it
His
done,
face, Boris' face.
really, Mr Johnson, you are going to embark on probably 7 years of negotiations with the United States on a trade deal.
What's that got to
You've
do with
already
the
How was that?
leaving the EU?
How has he just popped that figure
you
out?
will allow our national health service to be put at risk. By a
So
trade
he's
deal
admitting
with the
that
United
Conservatives have been in
States.
government for 7
You've
years.
already-
He's obviously already decided to losing.
Canada-style agreement, which took at least 7 years to negotiate. So you're not going to get it done in a few months, and you know that perfectly well.
You were right about that audience. They are lefties.
Okay.
I'm noting here, of course, that we haven't heard whether you would campaign for Remain or to leave in that situation, but it is important that we put the point that you just made directly to Mr Johnson about
Well,
this
how about we ask
timetable.
him to
Let's have a
answer
look at
that
the
first?
timetable. You reckon
They never
that we
answer the
get
questions that are
your
asked,
divorce deal done and a trade deal done by December 2020. Do you stick on a pledge on that deadline of December 2020? Have you dug yourself a new
Yeah,
ditch?
absolutely, because people don't forget, people said that we couldn't do a new deal in 3 months.
That's right, they
People
said there's
that
no
they
chance
you
could get it.
The treaty, they said it was impossible to do. Actually, we succeeded. We have a great new deal that, as I say, is oven ready, ready to go. And I hear what Jeremy...
Would you mint a
Corbyn
new
has to
coin?
say
Would you mint
about-
a new coin for December 2020?
I hear what people say about...
Would you mint a new
Not
coin?
willing to.
We
Why
have
not?
ample
Why
time to do a fantastic free trade deal with our friends and partners in the EU because we're already in a state of perfect alignment both for tariffs and for creditors.
I think the ITV have loaded this audience
You will
with
notice
Lefties.
I've answered your questions, but there is a glaring lacuna still in this debate. We still don't...
It won't work because people watching just get annoyed when it seems like somebody's against the other side.
There is a vast innovation.
He seems to have a decent
Allow
balance.
Mr.
Conundrum.
Corbyn
Is
respond to the
Jeremy
question from
Corbyn
Mr.
going to
Johnson.
campaign for the deal he proposes to do?
Boris,
Or
he's
is
not
he
going to answer that
to
question.
invite his Labour colleagues to destroy
Well, let's allow Mr.
the
Corbyn to
contraption
respond to that.
he's created.
Thank you, Mr.
Is he-
Johnson.
That's my
Well, that's said, and it's very clear, very clear.
It says he's very
3
clear
months to
again.
negotiate, 6 months for a referendum.
Didn't answer the
and
question
that will
again.
bring that process to an end. What we know of the government's proposals, what we know...
He's
of
worried
what
about the
Mr.
North. He
Johnson
doesn't
has
want to
done
say he wants to
is
campaign
a
for Remain
series of
because he knows
secret
of
meetings
losing
with the
them.
United States in which they were proposing to open up our
So
NHS
after 6 months
markets,
of doing
as
the
they call them,
referendum,
to
and then how long
American
will it take
companies.
for him to get
Freedom
out?
of information
Not answer that
request
either.
was
So I'm
made
assuming on the
in
very
order
last
to
day he
find out
won't
what
just,
happened at these
won't
meetings.
just pull
That's what
out.
happened at these meetings. Every single line of this document redacted out. A document here of US-UK negotiations.
Ah, we're back to the
Some
US again.
specific
Another
negotiations.
scaremonger.
Full market access
He's
to
hoping
US
to cling on
products
to the
our
Trump haters,
national
isn't
health
he? That's what
service.
he's doing.
You're going to sell our national health service out to the United States and to the farmer.
This is an absolute invention. Of
course it is.
Completely
Nonsense.
untrue. There are no circumstances whatever in which this government or any Conservative government will put the NHS on the table in any trade negotiation.
What it means is you'll sell the services that are currently available to the market to the US in a free trade deal, which is normal.
Comes up is because Mr. Corbyn is trying to conceal the void at the heart of his
Yeah.
Brexit policy and refusing to answer the question.
that
of
is
Yeah,
very
bring up the US every time. They'll probably talk about chlorinated chicken soon.
The public have the right to, the public have the
Thank
right
you,
to
Mr.
know.
Corbyn. Just very briefly,
I've made the
Mr.
position clear. We will
No, you haven't. You haven't answered the
She's
question.
losing it. She's losing
We
it.
will abide by...
People are just laughing at him now.
Yes, we've heard
Who will
that. Thank you,
make
Mr.
that
Corbyn. We've
decision.
heard that.
And I do think,
Very
though,
briefly, we
that
just need to move on to another question
since the
on
Prime
Brexit.
Minister has claimed
Thank
the
you.
NHS is not under threat,
We're going to come to the
then
NHS very shortly.
did his government agree with the US?
Come on, love,
that
you've got to
there
get a bit more
should be,
teethy
in
in
the
the
terms
mouth.
of negotiations, full
Corbyn is just
market
mansplaining
access
to her now.
for United States medical companies into our optical health service.
Okay, we're going to talk about the NHS a little further, a little
She brought it
later.
on herself though by telling them
And
to
we're
talk
now
to each
going
other and not
go
through her as the
to Our
chair.
next questioner, staying with the issue of Brexit, John Firth wants to ask about the possible threat to the Union, which could mean the breakup of the United Kingdom. John.
Is the Union worth sacrificing for Brexit?
Thank you very much.
That was a bit brief.
Indeed.
I was going to say, I was expecting more.
For Brexit, Mr. Corbyn.
Well, I hope the Union is not going to be broken up or sacrificed in this way, but the agreements that the
Well,
Prime
it's you that's
Minister
doing the deal with
negotiated,
Sturgeon.
or he's put, no, negotiated, put towards the to Parliament, was about creating a border between the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, creating a different customs arrangement for Northern Ireland with the rest of Ireland, having promised to the Democratic Unionist Party he would never do that. Clearly, there is an issue there. Clearly, there are issues all around.
Distraction.
About
Yeah,
Distraction
every
from
time,
yeah.
isn't it?
And I do think that this deal is damaging to this country, damaging to the rights we have at work and consumer protection and environmental protection in this country, and very damaging to manufacturing industry jobs all over
Thank you.
Britain, some of which have
Thank
already
you, Mr.
gone
Corbyn.
because of uncertainty over Brexit.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Corbyn. Mr.
Well, we
Johnson.
have a deal that keeps the whole of the UK together as we come out of the EU, and of course Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour Party, there being no doubt about it, in order to secure power and the keys to number 10, are going to do a
SNP.
deal, and they probably already have done a deal, with Nicola Sturgeon
Absolutely.
and the SNP to form a Corbyn-Sturgeon coalition, and the price of that deal, the price of Nicola Sturgeon's support, let's be in no doubt, she's made it absolutely clear, would be a second referendum
Yeah,
on
no getting around that,
the
Corbyn.
Scotland. I don't think we need another referendum on the union with Scotland. I've ruled it out. We had one in 2014. The people of Scotland voted very substantially to stay in the most successful political partnership of the last.
Actually, the only
300
areas
years. Why put this country,
voted
this great
to
country,
leave
through another referendum
the
on
UK
Scotland? And
were
why have a
Glasgow,
separate referendum?
and I think Aberdeen or something like that.
Strange. On your first response to that.
I
Thank
mean,
you very
basically,
much
if they
indeed.
make
So just
Glasgow
as a quick,
independent,
set,
the independence
something down
issue
in front of us, gentlemen.
cease to
For
be, have
clarity,
any
is the
relevance.
union more important than Brexit, yes or no?
I think I ought to be able to reply to this nonsense.
Will you be able to
No, reply to the question she asked you. You had a chance to reply and you waffled on about Northern Ireland.
Coalition from Labour and anybody else. There are no deals that have been done, and there will be no deals that are done.
Oh, you lie. That's just an outright lie.
For clarity, is the union more important than Brexit, Mr. Corbyn? Yes.
Our country is obviously very, very important, and we have.
That's
to
an impossible
bring
one
this
to answer,
business
to be
the
fair.
right
Nobody can
way.
answer that
We're
by-
proposing
not with yes
a
or no.
deal with
You'd have to come out with
Europe
very
or staying in, one or the other.
They're both really important issues. Really, it's up to the Scottish if they want to be independent or not.
The union is, of course, the most important thing. Just to answer.
Oh, bloody hell, he actually answered it. Well done, Boris.
And it's a fantastic thing. I'm proud to be not only Prime Minister but also Minister for the Union.
Okay.
Now, let's be clear that Jeremy Corbyn has said that he's open to a second referendum on Scotland early in the lifetime of the next Parliament if he's head of the government, and Nicola Sturgeon has made it absolutely clear that the price of her support will be a
She won't stop talking about it.
in 2020. So you're going to have a year of two referendums. One on Scotland and one if you
Okay,
have
let's
a
allow Mr. Corbyn to respond on
one on
that.
Scotland and one on
Mr.
the
Corbyn, if you do
The
have
opposite's
to,
the case,
if you do have to get to the point where you have to
You're
make
just
a deal
lying outright
with the
now.
SNP, Nicola Sturgeon has already said, don't pick up the phone unless you can guarantee a second independence referendum. Will you rule it out before the end?
He's basically
of the
jumping
first-
to her tune, he's going to have
There would
to.
be no
It's like
deal
ruled out
with
before
the
the ad
SNP.
breaks.
There would be no support for a Scottish referendum in the early years of the next Labour government, because I want to
In the early
invest in
years.
Scotland
Not
and
at
give
all.
Scotland the 70 billion it needs in capital
So
investment.
you
And
can
if the
Scotland
SNP
doesn't need
leadership
anything in
choose
capital.
to put the
Scotland has
Conservative
been
government back in
massively
office with its
overprovided
austerity
for
programme,
years.
that's
This
their
is
choice.
Barnett.
I like the way whenever Jeremy says it, he's
I listen
mapping.
very carefully, as I always do, to Mr. Corbyn. I didn't hear him say he was going to rule out a referendum on Scotland. Did you?
That's clever.
It's perfectly clear. It's perfectly clear that the price of Nicola
Can you respond to it
Sturgeon's
briefly?
support for the chaotic coalition that
Thank
he
you.
would comprise
Okay,
in
thank
the
you. Let's
second
allow
Corbyn
him
looks like
to
he's gonna
respond.
cry
Can you
now.
rule it out
There's
in
9
that
years of
way?
chaotic coalitions already.
Oh, yeah, so no answer at all. Wouldn't have been half as chaotic if you guys had actually played ball for
To the
once.
issue of Northern Ireland, in your hustings for your leadership race, Mr. Johnson, you said under no circumstances, whatever happens, will I allow the EU or anyone else to create any division down the Irish Sea. You spoke at another conference a year ago saying that that would damage the fabric of the union, and now here we have your deal that you've presented to Parliament.
Absolutely. And that deal means that the whole of the UK can come out and do free trade deals around the world and do a great deal with our EU friends and partners, Northern Ireland included. What the people of Northern Ireland don't
Got
know.
a trade
and what
deal
the
down the Irish Sea, trade border
Let him
down the
finish
Irish
answering.
Sea.
Not at all. Northern Ireland is part of the customs territory of the UK. It's there in black and white. And what the people of Northern Ireland do not know, and part of our tariff schedules and everything else, what the people of Northern Ireland do not know, and nor do the people of Ireland, is what kind of deal Jeremy Corbyn proposes to do. He's got 100 of his MPs, and we still don't know, by the way, what he proposes to
Okay.
do, nor whether
It doesn't matter, because if Corbyn wins, we're just staying.
Okay.
There's no way that they'll get a referendum would deliver, not on his dodgy deal.
who have already said that they would vote against it. Most of the shadow cabinet
Thank you,
are
Mr.
against
Johnson.
this
Mr.
deal.
Corbyn, a quick response. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. A quick response to Mr.
She wasn't that strict with Corbyn when he went on for
You said
ages.
exactly the opposite when he spoke to a DUP conference. You said there would be no border down the Irish Sea. Well, there is.
On the contrary, the whole of the UK comes out entire and perfect, as I have said.
That's true. There's a nominal line, which is a temporary one, but there's no border.
Well, I mean, it's
So
not
what
as
he says then, that
if Northern
we have
Ireland's
control of
entirely
that.
the
Borders
same
and-
as
one of the many
the rest of the
mysteries
UK
about
anyway.
Mr.
It has a
Corbyn's
separate
deal
Okay.
is would he
Parliament,
take back
albeit it's
control
not acting at the
of
moment.
immigration?
It
Other
has
people voted
separate
for it.
legal
We
system,
are going to have Australian style
you know, laws are
Thank you,
completely
Mr. Johnson. We're
different.
going to stay on the issue of Brexit. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. We're going to stay on this issue of Brexit.
Why does she stop
And underlying
Boris, but
this
she doesn't
whole
stop
issue, of
Corbyn?
course, is the question
Also, Boris should have
of
mentioned that and we are the
and
Conservative and
leadership. We've
Unionist
had
Party,
hundreds of
which you did
questions
mention.
on this, and with that in mind, it's over to Fahad Saeed.
This whole nation will have watched you both throughout this campaign in utter despair. At the heart of all of this is one very simple question. How can we trust you?
Seeing we've ruined his dreams and his childhood.
He's got
That's what's coming next.
existing trauma.
How dare
Under your
you!
leadership, the debate has become toxic and degraded with an appalling level of lies and childish abuse.
No, it hasn't. That's
How
just
can
what
this
political
nation-
debate does. The fiery clash of ideas does that.
Personal integrity and individual strength of character to look after our country's interest, rescue
Oh, this guy is
from
such a
this
snowflake.
mess, and bring us back together.
I can't stand this idea that everybody's got to speak to each other like they're 18th century gentlemen. You know, the clash of ideas does create fiery rhetoric.
Right, thank you. Well, thank you very much for a very important question. And look, on
Here's
the
your comfort
issue of
blanket.
trust, I think that trust in politics and,
Little pat on the
and
head.
in Parliament has been corroded, and that is the most fundamental reason for that is because Parliament asked the people to vote on membership of the EU, and then Parliament has repeatedly refused to honour that promise.
That's
to
right.
respect the views of the people. And I'm afraid that Jeremy Corbyn
Oh
and the
yeah,
Labour
most of
Party
those questions
now
are
blocking
lefties.
the way I think it's absolutely true. The way to restore trust in politics is to get Brexit done.
That's
and
right, do what you said
we have
you'd
a
do,
great
that's
deal
what people
that
want.
enables us to do it. I'm unclear
Thank
as
you.
to why it's
Thank you,
necessary
Mr.
to
Johnson.
spend another year
Okay, that's
in a
it.
debate
We've-
about Brexit, which is, as Fahad
Thank
says,
you.
is corrosive.
Thank you very much. Time's up, Mr. Corbyn. Your first response.
Trust is something that has to be earned, and as
Cliche or what?
Sounds like a
representative,
teacher, like a
you have to
safety and
listen to the people
headmaster.
that elected you in the first place, and you have to listen to people all over the country in
Is
all
he
walks
taking
of
the
life.
mickey
I spend
seriously?
a great deal of time travelling around the country, listening to people, be they chief executives, workers, people sweeping the street, or the homeless. Everybody you meet knows something you don't know. Leadership is about listening to people, trying to...
Is he honestly taking the mickey?
No, he's just writing a motivational post.
A
Yeah.
decision in which you can take a country and our society forward. My style of leadership is actually to listen to people and try and bring consensus together in my own party and
Let's just
obviously
all
within
sit together and
Parliament.
Oh my God, this is like the
Yes,
worst
this is
council
first
document
thing.
you've ever read, isn't
Do
it?
have to be conquered.
Let's build
They're not going to be
partnerships
conquered by
and
dictates,
collaborate
but only
to
by
do
listening
whatever.
and taking us forward that way.
Hard. Yeah, pudding kumbaya.
There is an electorate out there that like that sort of stuff.
Kumbaya.
Fahad put his finger right on something very specific in this question. How can the nation trust you to have the personal integrity?
Oh, so
and the
they're ning on
individual
Boris now,
strength of
isn't it?
character?
About the old
Mr.
Akari
Corbyn,
woman.
respond to that particular
Well,
point.
I think we have to represent people, take decisions and be honest
Hardly
with
trust
about
people who are
why you
friends
take
with
the
terrorists,
decisions
can
that
you?
are and
No.
how to bring people
How can
together.
you
My whole
represent
strategy
people by
on Brexit has been to
voting what they've
recognise
already
whether you
voted for?
voted Remain and live in a private rented accommodation and in port and in London, voted Leave and you live in the north and are in the same situation, your issues are the same. The problems of poverty, inequality and division within
Oh,
our
people
society.
didn't vote to leave
Bring
the
people
EU because of
together,
poverty,
don't divide.
Corbyn. Get off your horse.
He always
Vote
does
because
that.
they didn't want to be in the E EU.
Look at what I have said I'm going to do as a politician, and look what I've delivered. Whether it was as mayor of London or now as prime minister, I said that we would put 20,000 more police officers on the streets of our city, and we are of our country, and we are recruiting them now. I said we'd upgrade 20 hospitals and have 40 new hospitals. That programme is going ahead. We are uplifting funding for education across the country. We're lifting up the living wage by its biggest ever expansion.
Okay, but this
and
is
I
about-
said we would deliver Brexit, and we will
Just-
deliver Brexit.
Thank you.
We can
We're
only do
talking
it.
about-
in
Oh, she's getting on my
this
nerves.
parliamentary
She just
form.
interrupts him.
Yeah.
So this is about personal
thinks she's
integrity
Jeremy Paxman
and
now she's put the
individual
glasses
character. Does the truth
Put the pen
matter
down. What are you
in
writing?
this election?
I think it does. And I think it's very important. I think it's very important to hear from... I've been very clear about the deal that I've done. There it is. It's in black and white. You can read it. We don't know. We don't know what Mr. Corbyn is
It's not
proposing.
just- it's
he
not
won't,
just about
he won't
Brexit,
come
it's-
clean. He won't come clean with the electorate about what he is
Mr.
proposing to
Mr.
do.
Corbyn,
Nor will he come
allow
clean
Mr. Corbyn
about
to
whether
respond,
he
please.
would
Thank you,
support
Mr. Johnson.
that
Allow
deal
Mr.
or not.
Corbyn.
I think we've been very clear on our policies in relation to Europe. I think we're also very clear on all the other policies that will be unveiled in our manifesto
He's blinking
on
a lot,
Thursday,
isn't he?
Yeah.
and it will be accompanied by a fully costed grey book with it. So
I love
every
that,
page
fully
we make
costed.
will be
Yeah.
Fully costed.
because I
Just
believe
basically make stuff
deserve
like
that
efficiency
right,
saving
deserve to
here,
know what we're going
vague
to
higher
do,
taxes
and
on
deserve
people
a
that we
government
that don't
Yeah.
that's
exist
actually
there.
not going to
We're going to call
preside
everyone
over
poor, pat
rising
them on the head and tell them they don't really
increasing
know what's
inequality,
going on, and we're
and
going to look
chaos in the
after them.
NHS.
Yeah.
Instead, they're going to invest.
Patronising.
Going to take loads of monies off these negligible billionaires that can just
Yeah.
leave to go elsewhere.
Take personal responsibility for the way the debate has unfolded in politics in this country. We know, of course, Mr Johnson, that people point to the fact that you promised 40 times on record we'd be out of the EU on October the 31st.
Oh, come on.
One of your
He
former
can't,
chief of
he
staff
can't
from
deliver
the
something
time,
that Parliament won't let him
as
deliver.
London Mayor, said that you betrayed every person you'd ever had any dealings with. And we know...
Yeah,
Mr.
that's
Corbyn,
overly
there are
personal.
big
People, I bet
questions
nobody
about
makes that sort of personal comment about
within,
Corbyn.
Labour, for example.
she is, yeah.
We know that...
Going about the
Deputies
anti-Semitism.
of British Jews have said you and your allies have
fair
been
enough, she is
responsible for
doing
turning
it
your
to him
once
too.
great party into an anti-race, to a cesspit of anti-Semitism, were their words. Can you both take some responsibility for the way the debate has turned in this country?
Anti-Semitism is an absolute evil and scourge within our society.
Oh, so stop doing it then.
Racism in any form is a scourge in our society. I have taken action in my party where anyone has committed any anti-Semitic acts or made any anti-Semitic statements, they are either suspended or expelled from the
Then
party.
you let them come
and
straight
we've
back.
investigated every single case. We do take this very, very seriously indeed, because I do not want to live in a society where racism is rife. I understand and recognise the history of the desperate
Why have a load of
history
his own
of the Jewish
MPs
people
quit
in
over
the
it then?
20th century, which came about from an unrestriction of anti-Semitism in the 1920s. We've got to stand up against
Thank you.
racism in any form in our society.
And on the question...
And that's why you don't vote for Labour.
It's the only thing he does stand up against, isn't it?
Mr Johnson, your response to that, the points that I put you on those issues.
Well, I just listening with open mouth to what Jeremy Corbyn had to say about
Address the point. Address the point.
Let him finish talking.
Anti-Semitism in the Labour Party, because I'm afraid it's a complete failure of leadership. What's happened in the Labour Party with anti-Semitism, but the failure of leadership is even worse when you look at what is happening on their Brexit policy. Because
Now he's answered, Boris has answered the question I was asking, to be fair.
Because the comment they made about him was a bit of just a personal one. You've betrayed everyone you've ever known. Well, obviously that's wrong.
This was a question. We have your points on that, Mr Johnson. This was a question about personal integrity. This was a question from Fahad about personal integrity and character. So let's just try to take stock before we go for the ad break. There are many people, and many politicians indeed, that feel that the nastiness of political debate in this country has simply got out of control. Will you two tonight look at one another, and no matter who becomes
Look at Boris
Prime
straight in
Minister, make a gesture to improve things today? Could you make a pledge and promise that whoever becomes Prime Minister improves the nature of debate in this country?
The debate in Parliament...
I want Boris to say, no, I hate
before
it.
Parliament-
No, do you know what? To be fair, that Boris is like, yeah, that's fine.
Horrible, and some terrible remarks were made, particularly to and about women MPs. I asked the Speaker to convene a
Oh,
meeting
that's a
of
big
all
thing to
party
say,
leaders.
isn't
Mr Johnson sent a representative there, and we agreed
Thank you.
that this was unacceptable conduct.
Will
And
you-
I absolutely agree with that.
Thank you. Will you both make a pledge to improve this? And perhaps, gentlemen, could you shake hands to make a pledge to improve this?
Oh, how nice.
There you go, Boris. Good man.
I strongly
Thank you.
agree with what Jeremy...
Thank you.
Well, then you might need to make some other
We've got
statements. as well.
okay, we've got a pledge from you both
So you
there.
can't stop having the little pops, can he? You can't just be a
A promise
gentleman.
from us. We will move on
Oh,
from
got a squeaky
Brexit
chair.
to other issues this evening. Next on Johnson versus Corbyn, we'll be talking about issues like the NHS, the economy, and possibly Prince Andrew.
Oh, interesting topic.
How's that possibly? You just mentioned it.
We might speak about these things.
All right, so what I've done now is turned down the volume on that. Hang on a second. And cut it off there. So now we're just talking us, and I've got rid of the volume for that, but I'm leaving it playing in the background so that we can put it back on again if and when we're ready.
Are we still recording?
We're still recording, yeah.
Oh, hello.
Absolutely.
You
So,
need to warn people about that.
Yeah, otherwise evil Susan
Yes.
comes out. Okay, so we've got an ad break now. So while the ad break is going on, we're actually still playing the ads as well. So they're getting free bonus ads on Unapologetic tonight. So I did have a couple of topics for us to talk about actually. Do you want to do that, or do you want to talk about what's just happened?
I think so. Talk about what's just happened.
Yeah.
Okay, so what did you think about the debate so far, Susan?
I think it's really frustrating. Like any debate is frustrating, isn't it? Because actually what you want to hear is a person's full story, and when they keep being cut off halfway through, it gets really frustrating. I think it annoys me that I think it's obvious what they've gone for. So Corbyn's gone for the poor people of the world, bless their little hearts, they're all poor and stupid and we don't really know what we're doing. And Boris has obviously gone for the whole Brexit vote and this is what we want to move forward. So that was kind of a given.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how it develops.
What do you think, Sam?
Well, I told you they were all lefties, but you didn't believe me.
But it was, actually, Boris was getting a fair amount of applause, I noticed.
Yeah,
but I don't think as much. And also, I did genuinely feel that the presenter seemed to be harsher on Boris than she was on Corbyn. And what do you think about that?
No, I do think she was. She was a bit mean.
What do you think, Jonathan?
I'm just watching this Tesco Christmas ad. I thought it started out off as Bullseye.
Yeah, I saw Bullseye.
I just wondered what it was all about, really.
It's
an ad at Tesco's.
What do you think of the debate so far, Jonathan?
It's pretty much what you would expect, isn't it, really? There's nothing terribly surprising come out of all that, really.
All right, so let's talk about the individual. So, do you think Corbyn is doing better or worse than you expected, Sam?
Oh, excuse me, I got a cough. I think slightly better because he doesn't seem like a really massive crazy Marxist at the moment. He just seems like your granddad.
Yeah, he's not reacting.
That's one of the faces of Corbyn, though, isn't it? The geography teacher look.
Yeah, but that's, I think, a better look for him than, the rabid Marxist look, in my opinion. It's got a broader appeal.
What about you, Jonathan? Do you think Corbyn's doing better or worse than you expected?
I expected him to do better than everybody predicted, but, I mean, this is all a bit blah, isn't it, really?
You got anything to add to that, Susan?
Sam just stuck a finger in my mouth when I yawned, Steve, so I'm not
Oh no, not a ruined yawn, they're the worst.
Disgusting. I do think he's coming across okay, actually, because he's not reacting, whereas Boris, to be fair to him, because he's so angry about I think because Jeremy's not answering the questions that's given to him, and Boris then keeps going back over it, so Boris is coming across as a bit like an over-eager kid, whereas Corbyn's coming across as quite calm and collected.
Is it the holidays are coming? Oh no, we still haven't got
I think that I personally think that Boris is more affable and more charismatic and more enthusiastic of the two, but I think that they're probably both playing to their audiences, aren't they? Yeah. I mean, people who like Boris are going to like his performance today. I suspect the lefties think that Corbyn is winning. Personally, I don't think he's answered anything yet, and I don't think there are many minds changed by anything that's been said so far.
No.
Nobody who watches this side of I mean, it's like an extended part of political broadcast, isn't it?
Oh, it's back on, guys.
All right, so we're just going to power up again and see how we get along.
In the ITV debate, in a moment we'll take our next question. Remember,
Here
this
we
is
go.
just the first part of an ITV political double bill tonight at 10
so that should be back
we'll have
recording
the ITV
again.
election.
We're not podcasting this because this is for basically nobodies.
For nobodies debating about nothing, yeah.
Farage and Green Party co-leader.
I haven't seen that woman on the end next to Farage.
Who is she?
Clyde Cymru, I think.
We could have a wholeheartedly criticise the Gang of Four.
Right, come on guys, let's see what happens.
Gang of Poor and Gang of
I'm a
Snore.
hospital doctor and I see firsthand the unsustainable pressure on the NHS. Elderly patients stuck on
He's got that Dr. Small
Isn't
thing
he?
going on.
unacceptably long waiting times for operations. Aside from pledging more money for the health service,
Why is he doing
It
that?
looks like he's trying to chat someone up.
Yeah, a little turned on, I'm not going to lie.
I think the NHS is a wonderful and brilliant institution, but it is suffering under the most incredible pressure. The staff are unbelievably stressed by the job
It's getting
they
the
have
most
to do
investment it's
and the
ever had.
insufficiency of facilities to deal with
It is
There are
stressful because of an
33,000
ageing
nurse
population.
vacancies at the
Yeah.
moment.
Because
Yeah.
anything that's free at the point of use is going to have unlimited
A
demand.
friend of mine died at 6:30 yesterday morning from secondary breast cancer. The day before, she'd gone to hospital at the recommendation of her GP in order to get urgent treatment. She waited 8 hours. The nurses that were trying to help her were unable to get anyone to see her because they were under such strain and stress, and so she recorded a video saying, please, in my memory, make sure nobody else goes through this pain. We've got to fund our NHS properly and
That's
fill
a
the
very low
vacancies
thing to
and
do,
make
isn't
sure
it?
it's
Because
there
that
all the
woman
time.
would have had
It's one of the most
extensive
civilised
cancer
things about this
treatment on the
Yeah.
NHS.
It's really low.
Yeah, it's really, really low.
fund it properly, it gets billions
Well, thank you,
and billions
I
and
agree
billions.
passionately with what you've said about the NHS. It's absolutely vital that we support
Why
it.
is he
and
looking so
it is
suave?
one of the single most beautiful and brilliant things about
I think he fancies
Britain
Boris.
and our
Yeah.
society. And we are determined to fund it not just now but for the long term. In this One Nation Conservative government, we're putting record sums
they've got to
in
change, though.
34
It's record
billion
sums, there's no
pounds.
denying it.
But
We
what
are,
they've got to change
as I
is
said
people's,
earlier on,
I don't
we're not
know,
just
their God-given
upgrading
right to
20
use it and
hospitals,
abuse
but we are
it.
But that's the point of the
building
NHS, isn't it? Free at the point of use. That
Yeah,
is, if you like, the problem,
This
the unsustainable
government,
demand.
we will
I
invest
filled in
in
a survey the other day, and they were talking about turning people away that didn't need it, and I think they should do that.
And
But
I
then
think
it's
it's
no longer free at the point of use.
is to
Or
have
it,
a health
It's still
service
free, you just
that is
don't
just
get
can't
to
always
use
use
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't think that's going to work.
But better for patients as well.
I'd
We
volunteer to
can
do that.
achieve that only if we have a strong economy.
Thank you.
And I'm afraid, which is what we
Thank
do.
you very
Glass
much
back on,
indeed.
back on
That's
serious
your
note.
time is
That
up.
would be a
Thank you,
huge
Mr.
mistake.
Johnson, your time is up. Mr. Corbyn.
Well, the problem is that the A&E
He needs to get, Boris needs to get his answers more concise.
Yeah.
For 4 million people.
Because she's
waiting
not gonna
for
let him talk
operations. There are all the vacancies that have not been filled within the NHS. The Health and Social Care Act allows the privatisation of services. And indeed we have the nonsense
Labour sold
of
the
our
first
National
hospital.
Health Service being
Yeah.
taken to court.
And
by
also, a lot of these
private
hospitals are
operators
tired of
because
being
they
massive,
didn't get
expensive
contracts
PFI
funded.
contracts.
That Labour
They
started.
have to spend thousands of pounds to change the light
And
bulb.
instead have a fully funded NHS for all people.
Mr. Johnson, respond on that.
He should be making quite a figure on what fully funded
We are
is.
investing.
It's a specific question on privatisation,
Of course,
private
we're not
provision.
privatising the NHS, nor do we have any such. Of course, we are investing.
Just tell them Labour's the one who sold the hospital, not Conservatives.
At this point, nor will the NHS be ever up for sale in any negotiation. Let me repeat that point. And let me just look to
Yeah, say it all the time.
We will continue. We will
Yeah,
continue
stop
to fund
lying,
the NHS
Corbyn.
massively as we are. We can only do so because we have a strong and dynamic economy, which is. And by the way, don't forget.
Yeah, good
that
luck
under
paying for
Labour,
a
they ruined
bottomless
the
pit
public
NHS with no money from any taxes.
finances.
Everyone's gone abroad to get away from the crazy
There
Marxists.
was no money left. The economy has grown every year in the last 9 years. And what could be more ruinous? What could be more ruinous for the NHS than a crackpot plan for a 4-day?
I thought it was going to say like a crack government then.
I was going to say crack.
The burdens not just of the NHS, but of
4-day
every
week is
public
mad.
service.
Mr. Johnson, Mr. Corbyn, respond to this. And this is the proposal for a 4-day week for workers across the economy within 10
It
years
is
of the Labour
about
government.
it is about reducing the working week all across the economy, paid for by productivity increases all across Britain.
What does Labour mean?
Just Labour wouldn't know how to increase productivity.
What does productivity increase mean?
It means doing more for less. It means making more money with the same amount of people, making better use of your time to produce more output.
Or basically with machinery.
And Labour have never ever been able to do it.
Well, that's really going to work in the social care sector, isn't it? That's going to make it brilliant, that is.
Configurations without any clarity as to where they're actually going to be.
Okay,
Boris
Mr.
is like,
Johnson.
just a load of
That
rubbish.
is totally untrue. We're doing 20 upgrades. And yes, it is true that we are starting with 6, but the seed funding has gone in.
So where did the 40 come from?
40 new hospitals, and the investment is going.
What's he supposed to have done in like 2 months of being
Yeah.
Prime Minister, for goodness
Well,
sake?
deal with Brexit
I'm
at the same time.
just popping them out of every orifice, these
And let me
hospitals.
make another point. The single biggest threat to our economy and our ability to fund the NHS is our failure to get Brexit.
Okay, well,
Yeah, because it's nothing else is getting done at all,
I
is
know
it?
you want to return to Brexit, Mr. Johnson, but in this specific moment, we are talking about the NHS.
Oh, I see.
On
So
the
they
issue
can only
of
say what she's allowed to say
privatisation,
now.
private provision with the NHS. Sometimes it is there, provided by organisations that are not for profit. It has extended capacity within the NHS. Will you rule out any privatisation in the NHS, any private provision within the NHS?
Please say
The
no, because that's
principle is
madness.
to ensure that all people that work in the NHS are employed by the NHS on similar contracts across the NHS. The internal market
So no.
must go within the NHS, and what is happening...
So the NHS are going to make their bin bags, and the NHS are going to manufacture their syringes. The NHS are going to have NHS cleaners,
He's not,
NHS pay
but even
scales.
he's not answered this yet, though, has he? He just said NHS staff on contracts.
which are not being addressed either, and there are about
What about GPs? As Jonathan pointed out, they're
They're
private
not part of the
businesses.
NHS.
One quick answer, Mr. Johnson. Will there be a policy on social care in your manifesto, yes or no?
Yes, there will, and we think that nobody should pay for their cost of their social care by selling their home, and everybody should have dignity and security in their old age.
Thank you very much indeed, gentlemen.
Someone's got to pay for it though, to be fair.
Responses on that subject. Now, of course, you will have heard that both have made significant spending pledges over the past couple of weeks, and not just on the NHS. And Beverly Davis from Newport has a question related to this. Beverly.
I'm a care home laundry assistant earning minimum wage. I've worked all my life and I've seen the real impact of austerity which neither of you have. Now you say there's plenty to spend. I'm concerned because neither of
He's
you
going to
have
promise
ever
her
had to worry
£15
about
soon,
money.
minimum
You
wage.
throw it away on silly election giveaways. What can you say to reassure me?
Well, no free broadband for a start.
Free broadband,
100
£50
billion or
an
whatever
hour.
it is.
We've had
Yeah.
austerity for 9 years in this country. We've
Austerity
had
just
a
means
growth
living
of
within your
billionaires in this
means.
country.
Not
We've had a
spending
growth
more
of
than you earn.
extreme
Any
poverty
idiot
in
knows
this
that.
country. We've had a growth of personal debt from people trying to look after children, look after older people. I think the first thing has to be an increase in wages by having a £10 an hour living wage for all people, an end to 0 hours contracts, and an investment strategy across the country that does give us an increase in manufacturing jobs all across Britain, which we're not having at the present time. I think this election is a turning point.
An
in
end
the
for
way
0
in which
hours
we're going
contracts
to
represents
manage our
like
economy in the
3% of the electorate, and which 70% of them are quite happy with the contract they've got.
To answer the question
Madness.
directly about how we're handling public finances in this electoral period,
About taking personal
I would just point
responsibility
out
to upskill
that
yourself.
I have shelved a plan to cut corporation tax, saving, it's already the lowest in Europe. He would back it up to the highest in Europe.
It's a shame you did that,
We've
actually,
shelved
Boris.
Just drive out all the
that
businesses.
gives us the ability to put another
You should
£6
mention about us
billion
hiring the personal,
into,
making the
the
personal tax
NHS and
allowance
other
higher though.
priorities.
People
And we will
pay,
do
poorer
that.
people
We
pay
can do
less
that
tax.
because we have a strong
See, I should be Boris.
economy. But what worries me about this
It's not
You'd be great with it.
Amazing, always
is
good
that we're
point.
going to continue with this pointless paralysis. And I have no hesitation in repeating this point. If we go on with more deadlock and division next year,
Thank you.
if we fail to get Brexit done, then the economy will
Thank you.
suffer. And that is
No point groaning, you crazy lefties. It's true. It's paralysed Parliament for too long.
She's saying now there seems to be plenty to spend. She is concerned that because neither of you have had to worry about money, you'll throw it away on silly election giveaways. Can we have a pledge here from both of you? Simply, is austerity over in the United Kingdom?
Please say no.
We will
Austerity
end
means living within your
austerity. I'm
means.
absolutely clear about that. Yes, because it's been so brutal on the lives of so many people.
Last
Of
election,
course, and I believe in spending, investing massively in our public services because we support, and which is
So-
what we are doing, but because we support
So
a
you agree
dynamic
with Mr.
wealth-creating sector. And
Thank
that's
you.
why it's a good idea actually to believe in business, to support
I'm a bit
business,
annoyed
to
that
support
Boris
the
is kind of
sector.
a little bit left wing conservative, isn't he? He's just been like, let's spend as much money as we can.
Have actually said that
To be
they
fair,
want
he is
to
doing it on
overthrow
the building
capitalism
blocks of
and to destroy the
development, isn't
basis of wealth creation in this country.
Oh, yeah, I
I
guess
have to
so.
say, I think that would be disastrous
Corbyn.
for this country.
Over a period, over a Parliament, increased corporation tax to around the levels it was in 2010 in order to reinvest.
Sorry about the
properly
noise,
in
Jonathan's just
education,
going to the
in order
toilet.
to pay for the end of the university tuition fees to give every student.
You won't actually
a
hear the
decent
toilet,
chance
but
to go
it's
to
going to
university
out the
and life. And we will start to address the grotesque levels of imbalance in our society.
How will
we're
he
a
do that? Will he
society
give over
of
free education?
billionaires
Because
and
we
the
do
very
have
poor,
that.
neither of which are right.
Any
You
adult
should
who
have
has-
billionaires or the very poor. You should have billionaires. I don't think you should have them.
extraordinary levels of borrowing.
He thinks it's
At
a
the last
zero-sum
election,
game. He
we
thinks
were
there's
told
one
by
lot
your
of wealth,
predecessor,
and
Mr.
if someone has it,
Johnson,
someone
that
else
there
doesn't.
wasn't no
He doesn't
amount of
understand
money
that
saved.
creating value
Found
helps
amount of
everyone.
money true, Mr. Johnson, and have you found perhaps more than one of them, Mr. Corbyn?
What was that question?
No, I didn't hear it. I was too busy talking to you, though.
Money forest he's got. We're operating within strict fiscal discipline, and yes, of course, we're investing now in the NHS and we're investing in our police.
They're talking about
and
all of
investing
them
in
planning to
education,
spend again.
because we have the fiscal headroom to do so. We're also going to do fantastic things for this country with infrastructure, with uniting the whole country, with better high-speed rail, with telecommunications. We're going to do fantastic things for this country. You can only do that if interest rates are low. And the rate at which
Okay.
the rate at which Labour
Oh, let him finish his
would
sentence,
push up
please.
interest
Okay, let's
rates
allow-
for every
thank you.
household in the country.
Thank you. A response
The
on that particular
the
point.
reality of austerity has been to hit the
The reality
funds of local
of not
authorities
spending more than we earn
has
like
meant
Labour
the
did
life
for
chances
13
of
years.
Children have been damaged by underfunding schools, head teachers going out collecting money in order to keep a school going, young people with no after-school clubs, no youth centre to go to,
Actually,
and the levels
in our county,
of
we've always been badly
dislocation
funded,
and
even under
poverty in
Labour
so many
governments
areas
for
of
our
Britain.
school funding.
But
We
our
can't
schools
really
have
claim
lots
that.
of after-school clubs, so that's absolute nonsense.
Yeah,
It's
but
not
our
there.
school funding is pretty diabolical.
We will invest in housing, we will invest
He's
in
right about that, but he never did anything when he was in charge. Labour
No,
was in charge.
they
like
parcel it all towards the big cities, don't they?
that. Yeah.
All of this, gentlemen, is of course predicated on what sort of Brexit deal either of you might be able to achieve. But we're going to move on to some
Good wee, Jonathan.
other subject matters now in our debate, something a little different. We've had hundreds and hundreds of questions from ITV viewers, and now we're going to have a quick-fire section on a wide variety of issues to try to learn a little bit more
Issues.
about where the leaders stand
I like the way
on
she says
those
issues.
other issues. So if you could say in a few words as possible,
Taking her glasses
perhaps
off
even
now,
a yes
so-
Yeah,
or
it's
no,
a bit less strict
gentlemen,
with one.
She's got the
beyond
pen
looking
still.
at the clock. That
How do you
would
define a few words?
well,
Oh no, they're
just-
back.
Just editing, 1, 2, or just give us a clear, precise answer. The first question is Sue from Leeds. Is the monarchy fit for purpose? Jeremy Corbyn.
It needs a bit of improvement.
That's not a bad answer.
Mr Johnson.
They're
The
both
institution of the monarchy is beyond reproach.
Oh, that's not a good answer.
That's a
given the
brilliant
Prince-
answer.
Given
Spot
the
on.
Prince Andrew stuff.
Yeah, well, it's the institution,
Before
not the
we discuss
individuals.
Prince Andrew, I think we should discuss the victims that are there because of what Epstein was
Oh,
doing.
well played.
And I think there are very, very serious questions
He
that
didn't
must
kill
be
himself,
answered, and nobody should be above the law, but the primary position ought to be the proper treatment of those people who are victims of the most appalling behaviour by apparently Epstein and many others.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr Johnson.
That was not a good answer from Boris. It's saying they
I
shouldn't
think
be
all I said was
criticised.
I thought
They're
it
above
was. He
criticism.
said the institution
victims
was
of
beyond
Jeffrey
criticism.
Epstein and the law must certainly take its course.
Of course. Thank you very much indeed, of course. And we know that we've heard from Prince Andrew this week, and we'll move on
Is this
now to
something
our
that they should
next
be talking
question
about,
from
really?
Andrew from
Prince
Liverpool.
Andrew.
It's not really a news programme,
No,
it's a
it's
debate.
not.
What's the
Yeah.
biggest issue in our country today? Mr Johnson.
I think it's a colossal issue for the entire world, and the UK is meeting that challenge with the most far-reaching ambition to get to carbon neutral by 2050. And I know you don't want me to say this, but we
So
need to
that's a
get
no, that's
Brexit
not-
done in order to deliver on those priorities.
Okay, Mr Corbyn, is it a big issue? This is a big
It's
issue.
the most massive issue facing the whole world. When the poorest people in the poorest countries lose out because of
Everyone else is a bit bored of him saying about this what's
unusual weather
happening.
patterns in this country. When we have extreme levels of air pollution, we have to have a green industrial revolution.
Oh, I wish
where
we had a
invest for the
proper right wing
future
like they've got in
sustainable
America,
industries
where they're
and
allowed
jobs
to question
and
things.
prevent
Thank you.
the continuing damage to our natural world and our
Thank you.
environment.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Which current, this is a question from Tony from Bristol, which current foreign leader do you most admire, Mr Johnson?
Which is trap, say
Foreign
Trump,
leader.
isn't it? It's a
Well,
trap, it's a trap.
Say Trump, say Trump, say
Don't
Trump!
say Trump, it's a trap, it's a trap.
Don't say
I
Trump!
like the
It's a trap.
EU27, all of them, because they did me a fantastic deal.
That's a good answer,
And I have yet to hear, and I'm going to ask him again. I've yet to hear what the leader of the opposition
Thank
would
you,
do with
okay.
his deal and whether he
Thank you very
campaigned
much
for
indeed,
more.
Mr. Corbyn.
I feel obliged to ask this question.
Mr Johnson, Mr Corbyn.
I think the person
Enough,
I admire
Mr.
most
Johnson.
in the world at the present time is the General Secretary of the United Nations, Guterres, trying to bring
Oh.
the world together.
Okay.
God's sake.
Everyone hug someone.
Okay. We are
Strangely,
getting
he
quite
didn't
through
mention
on this. We thought we might,
Chi or whatever
but,
her name is from
we're going to
Burma.
have, before
True.
our
Who
concluding
was
statements,
previously
perhaps
a sort of
time
hero
for
of the
one more
left.
short seasonal question, and this is from Ben West in Kent.
I think we should all learn to be a little more kind to each other, including those who we disagree with.
Come on,
With this
Keith.
in mind, and leaving politics aside for a moment, what present would you leave under the Christmas tree for each other this year?
Oh, that's a nice question, actually. Fair enough, I thought it was going to be snowflakey,
If
but it was
Corbyn
funny.
comes out with bomb though, he's never going to recover from
Leaving
it.
politics aside, what gift would you lead leave for Mr Johnson under the Christmas tree?
Well, I know Mr Johnson likes a good read. So what I would probably leave under the tree for him would
Mal's
be
Red Book.
A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. And he can then understand how nasty Scrooge was.
Mr Johnson.
Well, I think I would probably leave a copy of...
I still think Scrooge was is misunderstood.
Effort, a copy of my brilliant Brexit deal, which allows us to... maybe by next year we will be able to see
non-political, Mr Johnson.
What I think, Mr Corbyn, Mr Corbyn shares my love of plants and trees. I think maybe
one of your little cardboard buses, maybe.
Some dams and jam.
Lovely. Dams and jam. Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for that.
I love dams and jam. Oh my God.
Fascinating 50 minutes of debate. I will now ask Jeremy Corbyn and Boris Johnson for a very short concluding statement.
Big sum up,
Corbyn
guys.
First.
It's not the whole end of the debate, is it?
Yeah.
Real choice
It was an hour.
No, 50 minutes.
And your voice
We're
must
at 50 minutes already.
Yeah, we've done it.
haven't
That's
registered
gone fast.
your vote,
Listen.
Please go online and do it now. This is a once-in-a-generation election to end privatisation and give the National Health Service the funding it needs, to give people the final say and get Brexit sorted, to tackle the climate emergency that threatens our futures, to invest in good jobs in every region and nation of our country. I ask that you vote for Hope and vote for Labour on the 12th
Why
of
does he have
December.
one eye slightly closed when he does these speeches?
His glasses aren't straight. You know,
No, apparently he's got a special lens, and some people are saying he's had a stroke or he's got some kind of eye problem.
Or he's
He's been doing it for years, though.
Mr Johnson. Mr Johnson.
Our choice is very simple. We can get Brexit done, or we can spend another groundhog year with another referendum where Mr Corbyn, you've heard tonight, cannot answer the fundamental question. Is he for Remain or Leave, and what price would he pay to secure Nicola Sturgeon's support to enter number 10? If he can't answer those questions tonight, I don't think he's fit to lead our country. So let's end the dither and delay the deadlock and the divisions. And if we have a working majority, a Conservative majority, I pledge we will have a parliament that works for you, that focuses on the NHS and the cost of living, because when we get Brexit done by January the 31st, we will go forward as a united and confident nation that has shown our faith in the judgment of our
Out of time.
people.
Mr Johnson, Mr Corbyn, thank you very much indeed.
And that's pretty much it, guys. That takes us to the end of that. So what did you think in the end? If you had to, I mean, obviously we're all a bit biased, but if you had to give Boris Johnson a mark out of 10 for tonight, what would you give him, Sam?
7.
Susan?
About 5.
What would you give him, Jonathan?
Probably a 4.
And if you had to give Jeremy Corbyn a mark out of 10, what would you give him, Sam?
4.
Susan?
Realistically, I would probably put about 6. I thought he
And
handled it a
Jonathan?
bit better.
Say again?
Corbyn's mark out of 10.
Oh, I thought the 4 was for Corbyn.
Oh, right, okay. Well, I did Johnson first. I thought it was odd that you were marking him so low. I thought he did quite well.
Yes, I'm pretty much a 7 for him. But,
So it sounds like Susan and Jonathan think that Boris had it. Sam and Jonathan think Boris had it, and Susan thinks Corbyn had it. Is that?
Yeah, well, I don't think he was great. I just don't think Boris did himself any favours by keep going back to something that wasn't the question.
Yeah,
maybe I like.
I
the
think his
straightforward
entire
debate.
strategy was that he would focus everything back to Brexit because this is the Brexit election.
Yeah, and I think that
he had good policies as well to share, and I don't think he did that very well.
No, I think he didn't share the policies very well, but I think he was trying to make it about Brexit because it is an election about Brexit. And I think that Corbyn just kept going on and on and on about,
Well, he kept going on about poverty, but never. But it's actually never did Corbyn mention any policies really.
No.
He promised to spend money on things like Boris did,
And he
but
didn't ask
neither
what
of
he was
them
going to do
mentioned.
about Brexit, did he?
He said we're all poor and our kids are underfunded.
And we've got to do something about it, but we won't
we
say
all-
what it is.
The only thing I didn't like about Boris, which I said in the tape, is I didn't like what he said. I think Corbyn won when they asked about the monarchy, and Corbyn tried to sort of make a bit of a joke about it, which sort of took the edge off it. And then Boris saying like they'd be beyond reproach. It's just really not good.
Right,
Bearing in mind the Epstein Prince Andrew thing, I just don't think it sounded great. And I get what you're saying. It's the institution.
No, I completely disagree. He very carefully said that the institution of the monarchy is beyond reproach. That is not the individuals, and I don't think anyone who says that's just spin to suggest it was. And I think he's absolutely right. Anyone who's a monarchist must believe that the institution is beyond reproach, because otherwise you start treading into these areas like the lefties want, which is to do away with the monarchy.
That's true, but I think the part of the problem is if you then do believe that the monarchy is completely beyond reproach.
No, the institution.
The institution.
Right, so that's not the
individuals.
individuals.
But then that means the individuals, as soon as they do anything wrong that brings the monarchy into disrepute, need to go.
Yeah, well that's right, and he didn't say otherwise. He said his answer was
but Prince Andrew hasn't gone, has he?
His answer was the law must take its course, wasn't it?
What's he done to actually bring anything into disrepute? He's got.
It's accusations at the moment, isn't it? Now, we don't know how that's going to pan out, but the simple fact
I'm
is...
just not sure that should have even been on there.
Well, I mean, it's fair to ask the question, but I really think you've got to focus on, when he's talking about the institution, he's saying, there's nothing you can say that's going to talk me out of our having a monarchy. And Corbyn, we all know what the left want, and most of them want rid of the monarchy. And I think that's an important point for people who are voting.
I'm going to say we've got rid of monarchs before now without getting rid of the monarchy.
That's right. Individuals. If the Queen murdered someone tomorrow, she'd get arrested. That doesn't affect the institution. That's an individual. I thought it was a good answer, but there you go.
It just felt like a trap to me that he fell into.
It wasn't as much of a trap as who's your favourite leader, but I wish he'd said Trump. I'd love that. But I suppose he was sensible not to. So, anything that you were unhappy with specifically about the debate, Sam? Other than what you've already said, I mean.
Not really. I just thought it was a bit bland, to be honest with you. Neither of them particularly set my world on fire, I have to say. I mean, obviously, I like Boris, but I didn't think this wasn't one of his best performances.
What do you think, Susan? Anything?
Just the whole argument of everyone's poor again, everyone needs to be cuddled back to, and money thrown at them. It really annoys me, coming from the background that he talks of.
It's not a real solution.
No, it's not. It doesn't. And all it does is tell people that they need help. And when you tell people they need help, what you're saying is that I am better than you and I can help you.
Yeah.
And it's not good for people. It really isn't good for people.
Well, I think Laura Kunsberg from the BBC, she just tweeted this, and I think she's got the right of it. She said, not sure either really won or lost that debate. Johnson didn't mess up, but neither did Corbyn pull any punches and get through anything. Very striking, the audience ready to laugh at them both. Dare I say, nothing has changed. I think that's actually quite a fair assessment.
Yeah. The only thing that annoyed me a little bit was the pandering to the climate changes, but I know everyone has a different view on that, but I am getting a little bit tired of it. I'm just surprised they didn't trot out Greta Thunberg and any of that. But there you go.
She's on a ship, isn't she?
Yeah.
A boat somewhere.
Well, that's been an interesting one. I don't know if this is going to work or not, guys. We'll have to have a listen to it and see whether our voices are clear over the...
Pick up on one thing that Jeremy Corbyn mentioned was an end to privatisation. If you want to end privatisation, you just privatise everything. And that brings an end to privatisation.
I don't understand.
No, I don't think it does. No.
It's convenient that Labour obviously privatised most of the NHS bits before the Conservatives did. They sold the first hospital, they started the PFI deals that have landed so many hospitals into debt, they started employing all sorts of people, the previous Labour government, into working in the NHS, and quite sensibly, I think, because if a cleaning company, for instance, can do the job cheaper than hiring NHS brand cleaners, then why not save the money and spend it on medicine? It just makes sense to me. Anyway, that's pretty much it for tonight. We'll have a listen and see if the sound works. Hopefully it does, and we'll publish this. Until then, say goodnight, Sam.
Night.
Say goodnight, Susan.
Night.
Say goodnight, Jonathan.
Good night, Jonathan.
And it's good night from me.